I'm your host, John Fiore. I appeared in 2 seasons of The Sopranos, the controversial saga of a New Jersey crime family. That's New Jersey across the river. Okay, I've heard all those Jersey jokes, and some of them are true. For many people, their only image of the Garden State was what they saw outside their car windows as they traveled up and down the New Jersey Turnpike. It wasn't a pretty picture unless you're into oil refineries and toxic waste. But in 1999, something happened. Was it some new governmental project? A statewide beautification program? No. It was the premiere of The Sopranos on HBO. 6 seasons and 86 episodes later, it's become a television icon. Suddenly, gritty locations in aging industrial cities like Elizabeth, Newark, and Patterson became the backdrop of the Sopranos story. And more followed, like North Caldwell, Morris Plains, Little Falls, Lodi, Verona. Many of these locations have become household names like the Bada Bing in Pizza Land. Tourists from all over the world want to visit the Soprano family home. And Holston's, where the last scene was shot. The now famous locations were shown inhabited by colorful characters like Phil, Ralphie, Tony B, Johnny Sack, Carmine, Vito, Richie, Paulie Walnuts, Big Pussy, Uncle Junior, Bobby Bacala, and the rest of Tony Soprano's crew. And it's really something. I did about 12 episodes as Gigi Sestone, a capo on Tony's crew. I even whacked a few guys, but you know what? I'll always be remembered for what happened to me in episode 34. I died. No hail of bullets, not even one neat shot behind the head. I died literally in the head. Yeah, I had to go out on the toilet, but when you gotta go, you gotta go. But I sure love being part of The Sopranos, a true cultural phenomenon. So by popular demand, I'm gonna take you on an exclusive tour of the actual locations where The Sopranos are shot, both with a camera and a gun.
Bang, 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 and he shot him.
Along the way, you'll meet some of the cast and crew.
The weapon of choice? Oh, a baseball bat.
Hear real inside stories.
Everybody wants to know what happened to the Russian.
See behind-the-scenes video footage. And a whole lot more.
I'm gonna give up what happens in the 5th season.
You could always expect bloopers.
Birdman, hello?
Yeah, I've been home from work. Stupid fuck, excuse me.
It's got that and all kind of crazy stuff.
I'm very unlike Tony Soprano. I'm a sweet gentleman.
Hey, driver, we gotta get down to the Lincoln Tunnel. Driver, stop right here. We're here on Route 7 in North Arlington, New Jersey, stopped right in front of Pizza Land, one of the most recognizable locations on The Sopranos, even though it's only seen for a few seconds at the opening of every show.
So at the beginning of each episode, they show a clip of Pizza Land. And really, we never really shot an episode there, and I never even had a slice there, but this guy's doing great business because people are calling up and they're ordering pizzas from all over the country so they can have a slice of pizza from Pizza Land. God bless Pizza Land.
So, they use your sign every week, Pizza Land on the show, Sopranos. So you get like 10 million viewers a week, say, in the US, and then worldwide.
They're going by every day, flashing lights at me, taking pictures.
So they've never shot in here, have they?
No, not inside here. They've been here a few times. I've had James Gandolfini here, and a few other guys, Zandt here.
Good.
They're eating the pizza, they know what it's like.
So do you get calls from other states for your pizza?
It's unbelievable how many calls I get. From California to Maine, and all the way down to Utah. Everywhere, everyone wants a Soprano Pizza Land pizza. They don't care if it's ice cold, they just want it in their hands. They want to be part of the Sopranos.
They call you long distance, say, send me a pizza.
Unbelievable. They don't care what it costs, they just want it out there.
Amazing.
So we just ship them ice cold. It's a big bucks. It's not cheap.
Hey, Tony, thanks for the stories, man.
Great.
Thank you. It's Satriel's pork store. Hey, stop the car. This is Kearney, New Jersey, and fans know that Satriel's has been used for more than just grinding pork. Let's just say that a few unfortunates have found themselves as part of the sausage.
I think that after Richie got whacked and the disposal of the body was an absolutely necessary procedure. Satriel's now offers this very tasty Sicilian dish called April Sausage.
In Goodfellas, they took the body up and buried it and covered it with lime, but then we realized they had to go back and dig the body out because somebody bought the property. Well, the Soprano family is a little more, a little more hip. They kind of really know, listen, if you're going to get rid of a body, get rid of a body. So they would take the bodies back to Satriel's, chop them up, and mix them in with the cold cuts and the chopped meat, and you'll never see the guy again.
Michael Imperioli has a line there that says, it's going to be a long time before I buy anything at Satriel's again.
Actually, this isn't even the same store that they used at the start of the series. That was a real pork store named Santani's in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and we'll go there later. After Santani's, they found this building at the intersection of Dukes and Kearney Avenue. Just before David Chase found it, it was going to be an auto parts store. The producers approached the people who had leased the store and asked if they could use it for just a few months, after which they could have it back. They brought in a pig statue and other ornaments for the roof and put up a bunch of signs, including the now famous Smiling Pig. The local residents got so excited, they actually thought a new pork store was opening up in the neighborhood. But to their dismay, all they found were film trucks, lighting and sound equipment, dozens and dozens of technicians, and a suspicious group of actors all dressed up like mob guys.
I mean, David Chase, he likes locations, and he went when he felt it was really necessary. And I think for Satriel's, the pork store, it really was a necessary thing. So many things happened at Satriel's, besides just the sandwiches. I thought it really was authentic. Growing up in Coney Island and Brooklyn, I got to be around a lot of pork stores. As a matter of fact, I worked in one. And the meetings outside, the espresso, that whole social club, you might say. I think Tony Soprano strived to be low-key. It worked as a kind of like a Trojan horse in a way, that same kind of a thing, a front for the things that happened there.
Here, a production van drops off some of the cast filming at Satriel's pork store. They include Jerry Adler, who plays Hesh, a good friend Joe Ganascoli, who is Big Vito, followed by Bobby Finaro, who plays Eugene, Dan Grimaldi, who plays Patsy Parisi, and his twin brother Philly, who I have the pleasure of whacking, and the great Michael Imperioli, who, of course, plays Christopher. In the 6 seasons of The Sopranos, a long list of cast members shot at this famous location. Frank Vincent as Phil Leotardo also filmed at the pork store and even had a scene with his later-to-be nemesis, Vito Spatafore, played by Joe Gandolfini.
I like Joe a lot. We did some personal appearances together, and that was a funny scene. And that was they wrote a lot of funny stuff for Phil because I guess he needed somebody that could deliver the lines with timing. I had a scene where Jimmy and Phil come out of the pork store and Phil's greeted and kissed by Vito, who was with the rest of the guys outside, and they discuss custom cufflinks. This is before Phil knew that he was gay. Phil should have known something was up then, especially by that little turquoise outfit he was wearing. Looked like fucking Little Richard.
It's a fucking... They had me in a teal jacket because of my weight loss, and they wanted to show that I was becoming very fashionable. And that was like the first episode of the season 6. Whenever we shot at the pork store, there was always big crowds, a lot of fans. And when we could, we always signed autographs, took pictures.
James Gandolfini's father showed up at the pork store too, as seen in these rare behind-the-scenes photos. James Gandolfini Sr. had an unbilled cameo as a butcher in the episode titled Fortunate Son.
When you show up to a location that you've been to before, like Satriali's, and they do the old version of it, it changes the whole atmosphere of that location. Now you have the old cars parked out front, and they put extra animals up on the top of Satriali's. We normally just have the pig, and they had, you know, a cow and a rooster and all this kind of stuff up there. And it just changes the whole feel and just makes it really feel like a flashback.
Even FBI agent Harris, played by Matt Servito, shows up at Satriel's later in the series. Besides his meetings with Tony Soprano, he also goes there for another reason. In the show, it is also revealed that he loves Satriel sandwiches. Wonder if he knew what they might contain.
I've had the pleasure to work with Tony Sirico and Mikey Imperioli and Stevie Van Zandt in the back room of the pork store where Tony's office is, and it's a lot of fun to be back there with the pool table and the 2 desks and working at the adding machine, adding up all the betting slips, which is usually what I'm doing.
What happened in the back room was what would happen in real life with any wise guy life. Is that's where everybody hung out and a lot of decisions were made. They had their parties and they had sit downs. So that set was very important to the structure of the story.
It was always very difficult filming on the street right in front of the pork store, but the show demanded all the realism possible. Here at one of the famous tables with the checkered tablecloth, Tony and Silvio are joined by Christopher. Among other things, they eventually ended up discussing women, Tony's operation, and the effect it had on his plumbing. At that point, the new character played by Juliana Margulies showed up to discuss a business transaction with Tony. Margulies appeared as a realtor, Juliana skipped in 4 episodes of The Sopranos, first being hit upon by Tony, soon becoming the mistress of Christopher, much to Tony's dissatisfaction. Many of the scenes with Juliana took place at Satriel's or right across the street, like this one with Christopher. At the firehouse right by the pork store, Tony questioned Christopher's relationship with Juliana after seeing them talking across the street.
That Kearney Avenue where the pork store is ends up being kind of like a back lot for Sopranos when we're there. We shoot outside the donut shop, the nail salon, our holding area where we have our lunch is in the church across the street. That becomes a very important location for us, and they really get a lot done with that street.
The Irish American Club is right next door to Satriel's and usually has an Irish flag on the building. Well, the Sopranos production team would not have that. When the Sopranos shoot here, they pay to take the Irish flag down and change the location to an Italian American club.
In fact, it was used as different locations. It was used for some of the card games, and then it was used for Christmas parties, and it was used in the episode where everybody was playing pool, and the feds came in and found the guns underneath the pool table, and I decided to take a walk, and they caught me. So that was used, that Irish American club was used many, many times as different locations.
Let's get back to the pork store.
The whole history of Satriali's, which was eventually revealed in later episodes, that was such a great story. Such a great storyline, because to us, Satriali's is just a location. But then to find out that, you know, Satriali had the whole dealing with the Soprano family, and then the deal with the receiving the meats every month and all that, all these nuances of the show, just so wonderful, because sometimes things are alluded to, or there are little clues in the episodes, and then you find out the whole backstory. Like, why do these guys hang out at this pork store?
By season 6, the guys were afraid of modern DNA evidence. After Silvio and Carlo whacked New York soldier Fat Dom in Satriel's back room, it was decided to dispose of the body elsewhere.
So both guys that killed me wound up getting killed. The Fat Dom in the back of Satriali's, he gets stabbed by Arthur Nescarella and Steve Van Zandt, and Jerry Trociano, John Bianca got killed in a restaurant.
You are looking at the run-through for a scene in the next-to-last episode, The Blue Comet. It's when Agent Harris ends up warning Tony that Phil Leotardo and his New York guys are on the warpath and intend to rub out Tony and his crew. As you can see, Tony has not yet started eating his sandwich, but is conserving it for the actual takes. He decides to juggle his sandwich instead. These photos are from the very last shoot at Satriel's pork store. They are from the final episode, Made in America. The additional shots you are now looking at didn't appear in the episode. They feature Jim Gandolfini with cast members Jeff Marchetti, Max Casella, Dan Grimaldi, Frank John Hughes, and Tony Sirico. Here is what it looks like from the pig's perspective. Here is series creator David Chase having a little snooze on set. But hey, after producing 86 Soprano episodes, you would be tired too.
Yo, driver, pull up by that cemetery. This is the Jersey City Cemetery located at the intersection of Newark and Palisade Avenue. You could almost say it's the official home of the deceased Sopranos. Among those buried in this cemetery are Johnny Boy Soprano, that's Tony's dad, Livia, his mom, and one of Tony's closest and dearest friends, Jackie Aprile Sr. Missing from the list are other notables like Big Pussy, who of course had a burial at sea. Richie Aprile, who was turned into ground round, and me. In this unique footage from the filming, Edie Falco's dog kept running into the scene, ruining take after take. The scenes you've been watching are from Jackie Aprile Jr.'s funeral at the end of the 3rd season, which was attended by most of the cast.
I don't know the ending here, so it's kind of interesting. It's a little like life. Each week they just give me a different set of circumstances. I don't know what's going to happen. They'll probably kill me next year, so I don't know.
Lorraine Bracco even visited the Jersey City Cemetery during filming in the episode titled In Camelot.
There's always a lot of fun with the cast shooting in the cemetery. Before doing his next take, Jim Gandolfini jokes around the clapboard girl.
The Jersey City Cemetery is also where Tony's aunt was laid to rest in the episode titled In Camelot. It's where Tony meets up with his father's old girlfriend, Fran Feldstein, played by Paulie Bergen. This eventually leads to Tony collecting an old debt owed to Fran from some of the guys, including Phil Liortardo. However, Phil is trying to dodge payment to Tony, which brings us to a big chase filmed on Grand Avenue in Queens.
The big chase scene between Phil and Tony took place at Grand Avenue, and the problem we had essentially with that scene was the timing when Phil came out of the ice cream store and Tony ran across the street to say hello to him, and Phil would get in the car to ignore him and pull away. That was a pretty tricky shot to make.
Grand Avenue is not a small street. It's a very, very big street. It's a major avenue out there. And that's one of the reasons we had to shoot on a Sunday, because the city could only control the traffic on a lighter traffic day like Sunday.
The entire stunt along Grand Avenue was staged and blocked out on a Sunday. No actors. It was the stunt driver doubles, cars, and director Steve Buscemi. To get things right, it takes many hours of work to render just a few minutes of film.
Sunday we did all the big wide shots and the action stuff with the stunt drivers.
The next day, Jim Gandolfini and myself shot the big car chase scene with the stunt doubles on hand. This is the first episode that my character Phil drove a red '98 Lincoln Town Car.
First thing we did was the lead-in scene where Frank Vincent is across the street and Tony's trying to get his attention to ask him about something, and Frank Vincent's character, Phil Liortardo, blows him off basically and drives off. This enrages Tony Soprano. He jumps into his white Escalade, takes off after him, and that's the chase. When the car crashes into the Boar's Head truck, of course that's not Frank Vincent sitting in that car when the crash happens.
I believe that Mike Russo did the stunts. And I know that when he hit that truck, he moved that truck 14 inches. That's how hard he hit it. And then I had to get back in the car, and the safety bag was exploded. Then Jim came in and grabbed me, and did that final scene. When he got out of the car, he said, everything's all right, we sent for the ambulance. He's okay. And that was quite a big scene to do. We had a lot of people in the street then. Sometimes Jimmy gets a little playful on the set. I had to explain to Jimmy that I just had open heart surgery.
They crashed the car, and they loved the first take. They did have a second car standing by in case they didn't love the first take, but you don't want to ask a stunt driver to do that more than once if you can avoid it. Guy did a great crash into the back of the truck, and then he gets out, Frank Vincent steps in.
Once they wreck a car like that, it was a one-take deal because it's a very dangerous stunt they had to do. He had to catch the right front fender for safety reasons. And we used two cars. We had doubles. Well, you always have doubles on cars anyway in case. And I think one of them overheated.
It was an extremely hot day, and the car had a mechanical problem, and we were waiting to see if it could be solved. The production had another car standing by just in case. You think of everything, believe me.
During that whole chase that we shot, Steve was in the car with me. Steve, he was in the behind, and then Steve Buscemi, he directed that episode, and he was in the car. So with the camera guys, and that's how the big guys did it anyway. And it was a long day, and it was a great scene. It came out great.
Even though it was a sweltering day, and everybody gets a little uncomfortable in the heat, we still try to have fun. James definitely had his moments of trying to goof around that day. You have to try to keep it light because you already know everybody's miserable. The heat is just unbearable, and you're going to be there all day because the sun doesn't go down in the summer until 9 o'clock at night. So you just know you're in for the long haul. So you just try to make it as fun as possible. That episode was directed by Steve Buscemi, who this season was doing directing and was actually a new character being introduced, Tony Blundetto. So he had double duty on this. And we did all that stuff on Monday, which is a little tough because Sunday we had complete control of the streets, and the police guaranteed that we had these blocks completely 4-hour use. But Monday was a work day and everybody else is going to work and we're trying to shoot this scene, and it got a little hairy there because real cars were driving through the scene and these weren't stunt drivers all the time knowing when Jim Gandolfini is going to run across the street. And then you have people curiously looking at the camera or waving and, you know, oh, who's this, Sopranos? Hey, Tony! And all that sort of thing going on. And it's just out in the middle of the street. It's not a backlot, which gives the show an authentic look instead of a backlot look when you see a show shot in New York, but it's definitely a LA backlot. So it has that real feel, but then you have to deal with the real world also, which is another aspect of filmmaking.
The crowds are there, and the production has to maintain order. They have a lot of people working as production assistants who have to keep this quiet, keep that quiet. I mean, you have that with this kind of a show all the time, and they have to keep the order, and that's the way it is. And if the crowd's out of order, then it interrupts the shot, so you have to start all over again.
Let's take another look at the scene where Tony confronts Phil. Besides timing issues, a whole lot of things went haywire trying to shoot this scene. There were bloopers, blunders, and retakes galore.
The problem we had was Jimmy getting across the street and me getting in the car in time to pull away so Jimmy could run back to the car and proceed to chase me in my car.
Here, the gear shift lever jams up, blowing the take. Holding up filming, the director Steve Buscemi and stunt coordinator Pete Percosi attempt to resolve the gear shift problem. That day, the street was not totally shut down, and real traffic had to pass through periodically. This frustrated the hell out of James Gandolfini. Here are some of the takes back to back. James Gandolfini likes to break the tension sometimes by fooling around.
That was a pretty rough sequence to shoot because it was middle of summer, it was very hot, and there was just a lot of noise and commotion of the world around where we were shooting, and that mixed in with what we were trying to do, which wasn't simple stuff, and always keeping safety in mind. It was a tough sequence to do.
We're actually in Verona, New Jersey, and that house across the street is Lydia Soprano's house. In the show, it's supposed to be at 55 Bendeck Avenue in West Orange. I mean, this place is loaded with Soprano history. This is the house that Tony and his sister Janice, played by Aida Turturro, grew up in. Later, Janice moved back in to take care of Livia, played by the late Nancy Marchand. Richie Aprile then hooked up with Janice and moved into Livia's house, something Tony was never wild about. Later, in one of the show's most shocking moments, Janice shot Richie dead.
I never even think she intended to do it. I think what happened was she pointed it at him and said, do this, and it went off. And then it went off again. It just did it.
Let's go in and meet the owner, Virginia Presti.
Hi, John. I'm Virginia. Come on in.
Now, Virginia, let me ask you, besides an army of trucks, film equipment, and all the stuff that goes with it, is there like a shadow crew of fans that are usually standing by with their video cameras?
Right, they are. Even my niece and my grandson, they're taking pictures all the time. And anybody comes down the street, even the delivery man, and they wait for Tony Soprano so they can have their picture taken with him and have sign the autographs.
Hey, just turn around. I want you to get you in there with them. Hurry up, just stick your head in. Stick your head in.
How do the neighbors like it?
Well, most of them like it.
Some of them get a little...
Yes, some a little bit. They get a little annoyed.
You know what you do? You go like this. You don't like it? Do it, let me see. Go there.
If you remember, this is the dining room that you see in the pilot. And this is where Tony puts down a CD player, a hot CD player, which he picked up for his mother.
Falls off the back of the truck, that kind of hot?
You got it.
My favorite kind. Virginia, can we go in the living room and we can talk about the show a little more?
Well, sure.
Great.
Let's go in.
Did they use the living room in the show?
They used it for the pilot. That is the only time they ever used it.
Did they make many changes to the outside of the house?
Yes, they put up a fence. They put up the Madonna, a mailbox. They put up a trellis, which I never knew what it was for, but it was actually to block out the other houses.
Did James Gandolfini do a scene where he had to fall down the steps? How did they do that? What did they do?
Yes. They had him practice that scene. That was the same day when Nancy Marchand was here because she was going to stand in the doorway. So they made him practice. He practiced about 6 or 8 times falling down the stairs, which I didn't think was a good idea. Could have broken a leg.
Did he fall onto a mattress or like a stun pad or something?
They had a mattress at the bottom of the steps. When Nancy Marchand was here that day, the only thing they had her do was stand in the doorway and laugh when he fell down the steps.
Virginia, what happened when Michael Imperioli's character Christopher got his driver's license and he pulled up in front of your house for the first time? What was that like?
Well, the way I understand, I think he didn't even have a driver's license.
Oh, he didn't have a license.
But he had to drive the car up in the front of the house.
But being a criminal, who needs a license? Right?
You're right.
Yeah. He didn't run over the sidewalk or anything like
No, not that I saw.
that. Good.
That was across the street.
What were you doing?
Watching.
Oh, okay. Tell me about the day that James Gandolfini had some kind of indigestion.
Oh, this was the day after the party. We had the premiere, and they had been up most of the night. And he was sitting there on the footstool, and he said, "Do you have some Mylanta?" Yeah.
Mylanta?
Mylanta?
Anti-acid stuff? Oh, I got his gas.
Well, I don't have any Mylanta. I gave him
A Briansky?
You know, that particular day, it was 16 degrees. So I had practically everybody in the house. There was Nancy Marchand was here. That was right before she died. And they had her sitting over there covered with a blanket with an oxygen, And I sort of wondered why they brought her here unless she wanted to be here, which she probably did.
Say, like, I admire my peers. I admire Nancy. I admire her for one reason, is that she was going to work knowing that she was on her way out.
She was, for me, the key, aside from James, success of that ensemble, that first season. Without her, an actress of that level, I don't believe the show would have had the impact.
The crew had such respect for her, and she would show up on set. And you know, we're a pretty professional bunch, but there's a lot of horseplay and a lot of goof around. But when Nancy showed up, there was total respect and total quiet and focus, and just to watch her work was so great, and everybody loved her.
Many other scenes were shot in the neighborhood. Right around the corner, a violent beating scene took place.
That's when they had that fight with the baseball bat.
Now, in episode 38, Ralphie, played by Joe Pantoliano, orders two guys from his crew to ambush the recycling manager of Raritan Township because he won't give Ralphie's sanitation company a contract. Heeding Tony's warning of no more fires, Ralphie's boys trade in their matches for Louisville sluggers and take care of business. One of Ralphie's guys was played by Bobby Finaro, who played the character of Eugene.
In my first Sopranos episode, as Gene Pontecorvo, Ralphie orders myself and Bobby Zannoni to get rough with Joe Zachary, who has been interfering with Ralph's garbage business. My fellow assailant, Bobby, was actually played by Vito Antifermo. It's a former middleweight champion and he's a Hall of Famer. The weapon of choice, a baseball bat. Louisville Slugger. Not this particular baseball bat. It was made out of plastic. Pete Picosi, the stunt coordinator, gave me a lesson in beating the shit out of someone with a baseball bat, how it really could come off really well. Because at first I was crack. I mean, it was my first day on the set. I was really excited about it. And he said, you know, Bob, just a few choice hits, a few choice strikes, it really looked really tight. So that's what I did. And he was right. From then on, I trusted my stunt coordinator. Pete's a really great guy. The scene actually was shot in Verona, New Jersey, right around the corner from Livia's house.
Ralphie was living here in my house during the 4th season with Janice. He asked to come into the house and watch the Olympics. He spent most of the day in here, and then he went outside and did his few takes. The scene involved him taking the bag out of the trunk, and he couldn't get the lid down, and he had trouble, and they had to keep retaking it. He had to do multiple takes. So they had him doing this scene over and over again.
The episode Christopher was about Christopher Moltisanti and also Christopher Columbus. Actually, Michael Imperioli wrote that script. Christopher is the same episode in which Ralphie moves in with Janice at Livia's house. And of course, we shoot the exterior of Livia's house on location. And we have him unloading his luggage and getting ready to move in. And as soon as he goes through the door, we cut inside, which is actually the stage at Silver Cup. And that is a recreation of basically what the house is on location, very similar, same layout, but built as a set.
A lot of the rooms in my house are duplicated at Silver Cup Studios. They copied the fireplace, the stairway, they copied the front door. There's a standing set of my entire house. If you go up the steps in my house, I have some rooms up there. You can walk up the steps of the studio, which look just like mine, and all you see is a bunch of lights and my dining room. There's one scene here where Janice knocks him down the stairs because they just had an argument. It was a big one too, I guess.
Inside, when we shot that at the stage, that's a scene where Ralphie and Janice get into a little tete-a-tete on the stairs, and Ralphie ends up tumbling down the stairs, which is of course much easier to do at a stage setup than on location.
They even duplicated the whole neighborhood outside of my house in the studio. They duplicated almost everything inside the house and outside of the house.
Livia's house is a location. It's on a real street, obviously. To make the sets look more realistic, they take a photograph of what is supposed to be across the street from Livia's and blow it up as big as life. And that becomes a backdrop on the stage. So when you open the door from Livia's house on the set, you see what is supposed to be across the street, as though it's really outside of Livia's house. We had an unusual visitor at Livia's house. Steve Van Zandt showed up. You never see him at Livia's house, but he came by the set that day just to visit everybody, say hi.
A lot of the Soprano cast ended up at my house. Tony even moved in here after he got thrown out of the house by Carmela. That was in the last episode of the 4th season.
Season 5 had a scene that was supposed to be the backyard of Livia's house. And even though we've used a certain location for Livia's house in the front, they decided that a different backyard was more appropriate. And we shot at a house next door, and it was supposed to be a sweltering hot day. And for once we didn't have a sweltering hot day during a shoot. The two Tonys were supposed to be having a nice summer picnic watching a baseball game. Unfortunately, it was October. And it was pretty cold. You could almost see the actor's breath, and it was Jim Gandolfini and Steve Buscemi. And they're sitting back there listening to the baseball game, and it's supposed to be a hot day, and they're drinking ice cold beers, and they're freezing. And Steve Buscemi does not like the cold. He really does not like the cold. So as soon as they would cut camera, they'd wrap the actors up in jackets. And then for the scene, they take off these jackets, and they're sitting there in just tank tops and shorts. And it was so chilly that day that even James Gandolfini was going into the white Escalade to stay warm.
The weather was freezing, and Tony's out there in his shorts and his sleeveless tee, freezing, jumping in and out of trucks trying to keep warm. Tony fell asleep in his truck during one of his breaks, trying to keep warm. And he fell asleep and his foot hit the gas pedal, and the engine was racing, and the crew had to come and wake him up.
The funny thing about that scene was James Gandolfini was having problems with his back, so he was kind of limping around. In the scene, Tony Lindetto tells Tony Soprano that he's walking around with a limp because he got jumped by a couple of black guys. And the funny thing is, Steve Buscemi is acting like he has a limp. Meantime, James Gandolfini that day was having trouble with his back, and he's actually walking around with a real limp. It was kind of funny to see one guy faking it, one guy actually in pain.
One of the times when Tony was out in the truck, I stopped to talk to him. So I asked him, I said, wouldn't you like to come in the house and get warm? And he says, well, thank you, but I'm fine, and I think this is going to be the last take. We're just about finished. So then I told him, when you come back later tonight to do the scene at my house, I'd like to get a couple of autographs. You've been here 6 years, and I haven't gotten an autograph. So he said, you can have anything you want. But whatever happened to the plans, he never came back.
Right around the corner from Livia's, we shot a big scene outside the Bacala house. And this was actually a nighttime scene, altercation between Tony and Bacala. This follows a scene inside that we shot at the studio, an interior scene that falls apart at the Bacala house. And then Tony leaves and Bacala follows him outside, and that's when they have a little bit of an argument where Tony tells him to get control of your wife and then storms off. That was a pleasant night, actually, and a lot of fans were hanging out. A lot of times in the summer we get even more fans because the kids are home from school, they don't have homework to do, so a lot of people will hang out from the neighborhood, sometimes all day. You know, they'll take a break for dinner and come back to the set and see what's going on.
started an interview here.
We'll do a little movie here. We'll make our own movie. Put it here.
I guess this is on still. Did you enjoy working with Robert De Niro?
Yeah, it was like a dream. Yeah.
Was it good, huh?
They were great. Yeah, very,
Is Robert De Niro a pain in the ass?
No.
Everybody says that when you meet him, he's like doesn't want to bother with anybody. Tell me the
He
truth.
was fine with me. He was very, very kind.
Yeah. Yes.
I guess it's different how you meet, if you're working.
He looks like this is a shy guy. He just wants perfection out of
Very
everybody.
shy.
Yeah.
Well, think about it, like someone like that, everybody's always wanting to talk to you and say things.
Yeah,
have
yeah.
some kind of a wall up.
Bye, very quiet, please.
He's great.
Whenever we shoot on location, we have police there to help direct traffic and control the situation while we're shooting. Especially if we're out in the middle of the street, the police are a big help controlling traffic and keeping everything safe. And it's kind of an opposites attract thing with the cast members who all play gangsters, taking pictures with the cops. I mean, all the cops love the show. They want to have pictures with the cast members. And cast is great. They want to take pictures with the cops too. We're in a lot of the same towns, a lot of the same areas in New Jersey over and over again. So actually, the production has made a lot of friends with the cops.
I mean, as far as the cops go, there are always so many cops on our set because there's, we get some crazy, how it goes. But they always have security walking us across the street, all that stuff. But a lot of times I see that they just kind of hang out, I think, even if they're not supposed to be there sometimes, I think. But everybody loves the show. They do love the show. They do gravitate towards the bad guys, I guess. But I think everybody loves the show for a million different reasons, Maybe they like the criminal aspect of it because of what they do, but a lot of people love it because it's a family show or, it speaks to all different people on different levels. Right, when we're shooting in the streets of Jersey, a lot of people do come out. A lot of people come out, want autographs, want to hang out, want to watch, want to catch storylines, the whole thing. So a lot of times people get pushed out, people aren't allowed. But if I see a fan with an animal, I'll ask for them if they can stay and they're allowed to come over to the set. And they're all like, Dre, you're not allowed to have anybody on the set. Just for a minute, let me pet the dog. I have to work all day. So the dog will come over, and of course I'll be rolling around on the floor in my Adriana mini skirt. Well, when I can bring my boyfriend to set, if he's in town, he brings either my Great Dane or my Bulldog. Usually not both, because it's a nightmare, but yeah, they're usually on set, especially if it's nice out. What's funny about our fans mostly is, first of all, we are not the rock stars, the actors, the characters are. It's all about Adriana, Christopher, they don't care about Dre or Michael or any of that stuff. But the most fun thing is when you see people camping out and they all have their lawn chairs, picnic baskets, bottles of wine, and they're all camping out and just sitting there for the day to watch the show being filmed. They don't get to see anything, but they're there. Whenever I have to work with James Gandolfini or even Edie Falco, I don't work with them too much. I don't work with Jimmy that much. I do have some stuff with him this season because they're in and out of the bar sometimes, but I just love watching him act. He's a wonderful actor, he's kind of like an animal in a cage, and once you let him out, you never know what's going to happen, so that's exciting. Tony Soprano, Jimmy Gandolfini, the man, is a big prankster on set. He is, he's funny. They all are. Everybody everyone on our crew is funny. We have fun. You gotta be one of the guys if you're gonna be able to hold your own on The Sopranos. I'm one of the guys.
Hey, whoa, wait a minute. We're right in front of Santani's. Remember when I told you about this place when we visited Satrial? This was the original location. There's Mike and Marlene, the owners. So I understand you got a few stories to tell me about how they use the store in the show.
Yeah, come on around the back.
Wow. This is it, the back room, huh, Mike?
This is where it happened.
Unbelievable. Epic scenes, obviously, were filmed here.
That's the block.
Block?
The block.
The one that Michael Imperioli, character
Imperioli
Christopher...
wasted the guy there.
That's not the guy, is it?
Nah. That was the guy from last
Oh,
week.
that's last week's guy.
Did you ever think that your store would be linked to TV history?
No, I never thought of that.
So after they used this in the pilot, now I noticed some of the signs, like the three-dimensional pig,
Yes.
somehow appears at Satriale's. What's up with that?
Well, they took it from my rooftop and they put it on their
Oh,
store.
they did, huh?
They copied everything from my shop. The cow's head,
right?
The pig, the lighted pig outside, the smiling pig. Yeah, that's yeah.
That's amazing.
And it's still outside there.
So how come they moved off to Satriale?
Well, this area was too busy for them to keep as a site to shoot their
trucks and all that.
Yeah, it's too busy, and everybody made a complaint when they did it the first time, so they just didn't want to put up with it.
They'd probably take you back in open arms now, but I don't think we were welcome too much that first day. It's easy to shoot anything on a set than just to go and put all your equipment on the street and ask somebody if we could use your location for the day, and then you got to block the streets down and shut down a guy's business. So when we moved into Kearney and had our own pork store and our own back room in back of the pork store, and had our own exterior where we could sit at the tables outside, it was much, much easier for the actors and for the crew and for everybody.
You know, fans are always curious about the Sopranos filming locations. Since 2001, a Sopranos bus tour has been going strong, leaving from Manhattan through the Lincoln Tunnel into New Jersey, where many of the shooting sites are visited.
The reason we did this tour, there was such a demand. People wanted to see all the places. I grew up here in New Jersey, and when I was growing up, all people would ever say to me was, "Oh, you're from New Jersey? Well, then you must know Bruce Springsteen, or you know where Bruce Springsteen lives, or you're friends with Bruce Springsteen," because that's all people knew about New Jersey. Or if it was an older crowd, they'd talk about Frank Sinatra. "Oh, you know Frank Sinatra. You must have heard about where he lives. You must have been to where he was from in Hoboken." So you had all that, but now in the last few years, all I hear about now is the Sopranos, the Sopranos, the Sopranos. So it's kind of made New Jersey. It's given us a little cachet now that it's kind of in vogue to be from New Jersey. And a lot of people want to know where these places are filmed. A lot of people are surprised that they are actual locations where they do film in New Jersey. And the funny thing is, a lot of these places that we're going to on the tour, when I was a kid growing up, my parents used to tell me, you never want to go there. Those are really dangerous areas. And now people are paying us $30 a week to take us there into these neighborhoods.
Okay, as far as the locations go on The Sopranos, I never know where I am. The only place I remember is Asbury Park, because we stayed there for a few days, and it was the most surreal experience of my entire life. We stayed in a hotel that was just like The Shining. We partied all night, and it was just so sad to see that whole boardwalk completely dilapidated and just gone to shit.
I sent my Gumana, Marie, on the tour to get some interviews.
What's your name? Where are you from?
David Kaplan, I'm from Long Island.
Jerry Nagato, and I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii. California.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Francis from Queens.
I'm from New York.
And you are from?
Northern Ireland. Graham, North Carolina. Oklahoma City.
Montreal, I'm from Canada.
Dennis Loki, Dallas, Texas.
Patrick Prinker, Waco, Texas.
Philadelphia.
You are from where?
Sweden.
I'm from Hoboken, New Jersey.
Who's your favorite character?
We gotta have Tony, definitely. I mean, but I'll tell you what, Paulie, I'm coming for you. You're mine. You're mine in the next episode. You're mine.
Who's your favorite character?
I would say Tony Soprano.
Hey, gotta love Tony.
I like Tony.
Tony.
All the women have the hots for Tony.
Tony, I reckon.
I love Tony because I love the way he runs his family. He runs his family just like my family. A lot of lies and deceit.
I'm very unlike Tony Soprano. I'm a sweet gentleman.
Who's your favorite character?
Richie.
Richie Aprile, the guy that got blown away. Richie Aprile, what do you think about that?
She did the right thing. He was a great actor.
Well, he's doing his job, David Frobel, right?
He was so despicable. He was wonderful.
I was raised in Brooklyn, and I did hear guys say, you have to show your power, or else.
Who's your favorite character?
Carmine Sr., the boss of all bosses.
I do a lot of gangster movies, mob movies, and I don't know why.
I like Steve Buscemi playing Tony B. I like his work and how he trying to make it back after being inside.
Oh, Meadow, she knows a lot and can teach you things. She put things straight into perspective.
It's been pretty amazing. I think the way I look at it most is just the amazing people that I've met, and we really, I mean, everyone will say it, we really formed a real family here, and I mean, of course it's great for everyone's careers, but I think we're all just feel really fortunate to be working with the people that we are.
I like Georgie, the guy that gets beaten up at the Bing.
Everybody's very happy when they see Georgie because they're all sure that I'm going to get beat up. The crew and everybody's like, ha ha, Georgie's here, all right. And I say, I'm not getting beat up, and they go, oh, come on, man, you know.
I used to like the guy Furio with the ponytail. Whatever happened to him? I like when he came over from Italy.
I like Silvio.
Silvio Dante?
Yeah.
And why is that?
Because I like Bruce Springsteen and he's in the E Street Band.
Adriana's my favorite. What's not to like? In my dreams, what a dish. Forget about it.
I've always kind of liked Christopher the most.
Why is that?
He's a young guy, and you know, he knew what he wanted, and he did whatever he had to do to get that.
I'd say the psychiatrist.
Oh, Dr. Melfi. You like the serious, smart type?
Oh yeah.
I've been told I look like Ralphie.
Yeah, what about the hair?
In the mornings, it's very much like Ralphie's.
Probably Carmela. She's just a typical housewife, sort of.
If you were Carmela married to Tony, what would you do?
Oh, I would love it. I love him, but I'd leave him.
He'd be eliminated. Who are you most sorry to see get whacked?
Big pussy.
In fact, when I was in Scotland, I was watching my last episode, the boat episode, where I got whacked. So people didn't even know I was dead yet. And then the next day, I'm walking around Scotland, and they felt bad for me because I was dead. And they were asking me, coming back on the show, was it a dream? Are you really dead? So even though that work was like years ago for me, it's current to a lot of people who just see the videos, and it's all new again. So it's like you're gaining a new audience. I'm an international film star now.
Which character bothered you the most to see get whacked?
Adriana, what a shame, but a rat's a rat.
Dun, 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 dun.
It was hard to see Christopher go at the hands of Tony.
For me, it was Bobby Bacala. I couldn't believe when those guys came in and gunned him down. He landed right on top of the train set.
Who are you most sorry to see get whacked?
Phil Leotardo, the guy you love to hate. It was a shame to see him go.
Which character bothered you the most to see get whacked?
Probably Jackie Jr.
The only thing that was a surprise about Jackie Jr. was that Tony didn't do it.
If you have a message for Big Vito who whacked Jackie Jr., what would that be?
Vito, you did a good thing.
Why is that?
Why is that? They broke into the card game, you didn't belong there.
When I shot Jackie Jr., immediately all the girls, I was watching with a lot of people in a restaurant. So all the girls gasped and started calling me names and everything. But then they applauded because they knew that I had done the hit.
So we're on a location, and it's a somber moment because we have a feeling Jackie Jr., well, we know Jackie Jr. is going to get shot. So my buddy over here, Joe, is looking for the gun, the thing he calls it, the thing. So the first time out, yeah, Joe. So he's ready. He's in his role. He's in his character. So yeah, I'll get you the gun. Hold on. So okay, we're ready to go. We're ready to shoot. I wait till the exact last second, and I give him a banana. And he starts sweating. Oh, the thing. Remember that?
It actually, it took about 5, 6, 7 takes because the gun wouldn't go off.
For a big guy, he had a small gun.
Because he was my cousin and we knew him, and the small gun just left a very small hole. Did the job, but they still have an open casket at the funeral. A lot more respectful. I don't know if you see, but after I shoot him, it takes about 10 minutes to get in the car, and they couldn't find a smaller car. But
do any of the actors remind you of any real mobsters?
Yeah, you can see it in, the way they act, what I think is mobsters. I don't know any mobsters. But.
Well, my looks, my appearance, even before I did The Sopranos, everyone seemed to think I was a mob guy.
Johnny Sacks looks like a mobster.
No, actually, no one's reacted to me that way yet. I haven't had anyone actually walk up to me and say, gee, you remind me of a specific known mobster.
They gave me a name one time for an episode. It was in the script. And I said to him, the writer, who I don't remember who it was, this name is a real name. I said, I know people that have this name, and they're really these kind of people. And they said, you do? I said, okay, yeah. They said, I do. And they went and they made a call and they came back and said, the name's changed. Use this name.
Can you tell me the name?
No.
Wasn't Smith or Jones?
No.
What's your favorite shooting location?
I'd have to say Bada Bing, the tennis club.
Lou Costello Park in Paterson, New Jersey.
Definitely Bada Bing.
The Pine Barrens.
I like Clinton. What about you?
The Bida Bang.
The pork store.
You know, I really like Adriana's club, the Crazy Horse.
I've got to say, Bada Bing was really fun inside.
I like James Gandolfini's mother's home. I think that's my favorite location.
Holston's Restaurant. We sat in Tony's booth.
The Bada Bing, I went in there, had myself a beer, talked to some of the girls, you had a good time, you know what I mean?
And what do you think about that?
I don't like that.
The Soprano house, absolutely. How about you?
I'm going to say the Bada Bing.
And what could be your second?
I'm going to say the Bada Bing, yeah.
What's your third favorite location?
Probably a toss-up between the Bada Bing and the Bada Bing. I'm going to, the Bada Bing. That's probably going to be my favorite. Being it's a strip club and all, yeah.
Who's your favorite character?
Anybody that was in the Bada Bing.
The only part of Jersey I'm familiar with is Lodi, New Jersey, because since I was a little girl, I've been going to my dad's factory. That's where Satin Dolls is, the Bada Bing. So whenever we're shooting around the Bada Bing, all my dad's employees want to know if they can come by and visit, and I'm like, I don't work at the Bada Bing. You're gonna have to come to the Crazy Horse.
Yeah, I don't think many people know that the Crazy Horse is Tequila Joe's. The Sopranos shot at my club, Tequila Joe's, from seasons 2 to seasons 5.
Well, the club I own in the show, the club that Adriana owns, is the Crazy Horse, and we shoot on location inside there, and it is brutal. When we're doing packed club scenes, it's burning hot. Maintaining all those extras, I mean, it's pretty crazy.
While they're shooting with no air conditioning, it gets about 95 to 100. They can't just always stop shooting, they put on the ACs and then shut the ACs and start shooting again, which they do about once every hour, but it still gets to 95, 100 degrees. Any sound, everything got to be shut down. Air conditioning, refrigeration, fans, because everything gets picked up. So it gets very smoky and very hot. I think we could all agree that Drea Di Matteo is very hot, especially when it gets hot in there. She just gets hotter. It's nice to have a fox like Drea walking around the club in between takes and also during takes. So it's a joy to see her. It's like we have a little bit of Hollywood right here in Newark. When they're filming here, it seems like a whole motion picture studio. There's camera trailers and light trailers and actors trailers and trucks, caterers, bands, and tons of crew guys, and the area comes alive when they come filming. It excites the neighborhood. There's always plenty of neighbors always watching. The parking lots, which they park many trailers. There's plenty of room for everybody, even their extras. When they have extras, 200-300 extras, they're able to keep them at one floor and bring them up to other floors as needed and shuffle them down. I have a huge area downstairs, the downstairs club floor, used as a holding area. They wouldn't want people walking around interrupting the sets. Yeah, the eyes on the wall on the club floor, which they filmed the most, are very recognizable. They got a kick out of them. Drea is terrific in the show. There's always plenty of fans outside waiting for her arrival. Nice to see that Adriana does stop when people outside ask her to take a picture or sign something. She's always cheerful, actually, which is very natural for her. Very nice person. Jamie Lynn Sigler, she seemed more innocent than any of the other characters in The Sopranos, in person or I guess on a show also. Drea and Jamie Lynn both came a couple times together to shoot season 5. It was nice to see that they get along so good as good friends. They look like sisters.
Little Meadow's all grown up now. She has more boyfriends than Adriana has. Adriana still got the same old guy. She at least tests it out, goes out with lots of different guys. She's a lot more evolved than my character is, believe it or not. But yeah, she does pop by the Crazy Horse.
A lot of cast members were here, especially in season 5. Tony and Paulie are definitely, it's obvious they could do comedy. they would be able to loosen up the room with a joke within 2 seconds. Fiorio had a few scenes shot in here, mostly as a great bouncer, let's just say. Outside he had one scene right in front of the place. He also did a couple filming here at this upper bar. Stevie Van Zandt is a very enjoyable person to speak to. I spoke to him for a couple hours, very knowledgeable of music, and I guess many other things also. Michael Imperioli, Christopher have been here many times before. He had many scenes in and outside of the club. He's very a lot like his character in real life also. Big Vito, very diversified.
When we shot at Tequila Joe's, they had me falling off. I get in a chair and I break it, but that was done at the studio.
The office of the Crazy Horse is in Silver Cup because a lot of the action takes place.
I tell Adriana that she should play more Leonard Skinner, and then we go back in the back room and we just cut.
Frank Vincent showed up at the Crazy Horse. There was one scene they had a big fight in the parking lot. In episode 1 in the 5th season, they even used my parking lot to double for Atlantic City. It's the scene where Paulie and Chris killed the waiter. I'm delighted that the Sopranos come here to Tequila Joe's in Newark, that they feel comfortable coming to Newark, and it shows by their repeat visits.
Now, although The Sopranos takes place in current time, there have been occasions where the production team needed to do flashback scenes. The one you're looking at now is from the first season, episode 7, called Down Neck. Now, in the show, Tony is having trouble with his son AJ, and while looking in the bathroom mirror, he flashes back to his own childhood in 1967, where he sees his father, Johnny Boy, and Uncle Junior beat up a guy from the neighborhood. It's the kind of childhood that leads Tony to say as an adult, "You're born into this shit, you are what you are." These scenes were shot in Newark in the summer of 1998 by a curious video buff long before the show was known. As you can see from the director's chairs, the now famous Soprano logo hadn't been developed yet, and all that was used were black and white plain lettering.
Anyway, here's a look at another take of the beating scene.
Wait, come on, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing here? What the fuck are you doing, huh? What you bringing here? Stick your boy. What the fuck are you doing, huh? You're a fucking 14! Get the fuck out of here!
Johnny Boy Soprano was played by Joseph Savara, and Young Uncle Junior was played by Rocco Sisto.
Asshole! Who do you think you're bringing to me? Huh? He's like shit! He's like shit! Listen now! What are you doing?
Anxious for a quick getaway, Young Uncle Junior fails to get the car in gear. The blooper spoils the getaway and the take.
Next time you bring it all, you piece of shit!
We were shooting at the Inwood Apartments in Little Falls, New Jersey, and the scene was Silvio going to Ralphie's house to find out where his stripper girlfriend was. And he pulls her out of the house and takes her to the car, and you do a blocking rehearsal, and the actors don't really do it full up. Just trying to get the physical motion, what the camera's gonna do. First take we did, to see Silvio, who's kind of a comical character for the most part, grab this girl, and the stunt guy had a pad there, throw her head against the car and basically grab her like that. We were all shocked because, you know, Stevie's so great and so much fun. We were all just watching this like, holy shit, I've never seen Silvio like that. And we're like, whoa, that seems intense. That was intense.
I'm very happy with my house, I really am. in northern New Jersey, northwestern New Jersey. It's a great place. It's a beautiful home. The people who own it are really very cooperative with us. I mean, they seem to enjoy the fact that we use it. And it's a great place. It's very expansive. And I think it was a good choice for the New York underboss.
I opened the door, and there were 3 people standing there. And I asked them who they were, and they said, "Good evening, we're from HBO. We're going to be doing a pilot, and we'd like to see your home, possibly use your house." And I just let them in. And we stood in the foyer, and we talked, and they started walking around, and they went out to the deck, and I later found out who they were. It happened to be David Chase and 2 of the writers. And David Chase had told us he wanted to use this house in this town because he grew up here. And he liked North Caldwell.
The funny thing was, when they came here originally, they wanted to use the house for Tony Soprano's house. However, they were building a house next to us, and they couldn't take the chance that the noise from the house being built would interfere with the filming. Surprisingly, 2 years later, in the summer of 2000, David Chase came back to the home.
And it was then that they told us that they had selected our home to be used as Johnny Sack's home. That's how they started to use the house. They began filming in late September. They were great. Everybody was fine. They couldn't have been nicer. They took great care of the house. They treated our children well. They treated the neighbors well. We had a lot of fun that day. It was a great experience for us. We'd do it again in a second.
Vince Crotola came in here. He was phenomenal. The rest of the Sopranos, Tony, Vinny, Jimmy, Uncle Tanous, the whole bunch, they were fantastic. They came in here like we were gold.
At one of the filmings in season 5 at our home, it was a very cold day. The lower level of our house was where we housed all of the makeup artists and the clothing specialists and the actors. Tony Soprano was down here just hanging out, waiting in between takes, and I was by the sink making soup because it was very, very cold. And I had given soup to the director, and Tony wanted to know why I didn't make him soup. And I said, "Well, I'll make you soup, no problem." And as I'm pouring the soup, he's taking his coat off, and he's taking his hat off and his scarf, and all of a sudden he starts to unzip his pants. And I was at the sink, and I turned the water off, and I said, "Excuse me, what is it that you're doing?" And he said, "I'm taking my pants off." And I said, "You're not taking them off here." And he says, "Don't worry about it. I have pantaloons on underneath." And I said, "Well, that's all right. I just can't take much more, so just keep it safe." Although I know a lot of women would love to see him without his underwear or without his pants, it was just a little too much for me to handle that day. So we decided to keep it clean, keep all clothes on unless you were in a room where nobody could see you.
In the last episode of season 5, it involved a big FBI raid. It scared the hell out of me. And I'll tell you, to see all those FBI agents come from the woods and the street and the cars with guns drawn, FBI in the back of their jackets, even though it was acting, it was pretty scary. There were about 20 FBI agents coming by with shotguns and rifles, etc., surrounding the house, and there was ice outside, and they did quite a few takes on this. And when they came to the door with the battering ram, I didn't know what was going to happen.
I was watching from the dining room, and I see some of the FBI agents coming out with a battering ram. I panicked, and I turned to April, one of the set directors, and I said, "What are they doing with that? FBI. They're not going to knock my door down." Open up. And she said, "Don't worry, we're not really going to break the door."
When you hear a bunch of guys saying, FBI, open up, you want to run away yourself because it's very, very intimidating.
There was a blizzard the day before they filmed, so it was very difficult for them and the crew to keep this house in good shape. They had at least 100 people here in and out, so they were very careful, but they were great. There was a lot of action going on, and I think they wanted to show all angles of the FBI moving in from all sides of the house, and that was where they set up their cameras outside to do that angle work. And they also put very large cameras out on the back porch.
When they were shooting the scene outside, because of the snow and the tight quarters on the patio, there were quite a few people there. There were just two actors, Tony and Vince Piratola, who was Johnny Sacks, of course. So when Johnny Sack and Tony met, they met down here on the patio. The FBI surrounded them from inside the back, from out of the woods, over the pool, whatever. There was a whole conglomerate of crew here, and the FBI came from all different directions. Tony ran away first. Johnny Sack ran from the FBI, tore his ass around this corner, and jumped into the snowbank. It was tackled by one of the FBI men. Tony Soprano ran through the woods like a bear, running up and down the snowbanks. But then again, when the Sopranos come here, all hell breaks loose.
By the way, right across from those woods is Matarazzo's farm. When Ralphie got whacked in season 4, Tony and Chris buried his head out there with the backhoe.
They buried the head at a farm, and the weird thing about that location, the farm that we used was in North Caldwell, and just over the hill you could see Johnny Sack's house, the house that we used for Johnny Sack. And it was kind of weird because you're thinking this is supposed to be a very remote farm, and I think it was supposed to be upstate New York, but we used this location, and so the whole time you're shooting there, you're thinking, oh, how are they not going to find this head? Johnny Sack lives right down the street. If you never show the camera looking that way, you never know that it's Johnny Sack's house right over the hill.
It was a nighttime scene. I was watching them from my porch, my back deck. It was very, very cold. It's a cold day in March. They're digging with all kind of shovels and machinery. They're digging away, they're burying something. I was watching James Gandolfini with a bowling bag, and it turns out to be Ralphie's head in the bowling bag.
Ralphie's head going into the bowling bag was one of the things that people talked about a lot after that season.
I thought it was a funny scene. I told you I could use it as a bowling ball, his head. Put 2 fingers in his eyes and the thumb in his mouth. And I got a bowling ball.
I'll never go bowling again.
Hey, let me tell you about the episode with the Maserati. It took place in the middle of the 5th season.
The funniest part of that day that I remember was we were all standing out in the street, and Tony Soprano had a flowered print shirt on. Tony Soprano's double had a flowered print shirt on, and there walked out my husband out of the house with a flowered print shirt on. So it kind of got a little confusing as to who was who, and I was hoping that maybe Rich could get into that Maserati and they would just think it was Tony Soprano and we could just keep it for a while, but...
It was a nice warm day. Tony Soprano was here with Johnny Sacks, and Johnny Sacks was showing Tony his new Maserati. Beautiful car. Tony's walking around the car and looking at it and saying, what a nice life. This is probably a $200,000 car. Tony's walking around the car and Johnny Sacks is showing him different things on the car. There were quite a few breaks and people were coming in, standing around, talking to them, and even they signed a few autographs, I believe. They maybe broke for some lunch. And it was a nice experience to see him walk around his beautiful car. Yeah, so they had some time between takes. Tony's adjusting his pants, fooling around with the crew. It was a lot of give and take back and forth.
Tony and Johnny Sacks were fooling around a lot. The car is very low. So Tony had to maneuver getting into the car without falling or sitting very low. He's a big guy, so him getting in and out of the car wasn't that easy. And Johnny Sacks was busting him, like, what's the matter? He can't having a hard time getting in the car, and they were fooling around quite a lot.
And Johnny Sacks was telling him how good it ran, etc. And Tony turned and said, I guess Ginny likes it a lot too, in a joking way, meaning Ginny couldn't fit in the goddamn car. The Maserati scene took quite a while to shoot. It was surprising because it was maybe a 2-minute scene. And people don't realize the manpower and the material and time it takes to shoot a scene like that. It took them a while for the makeup to be put on and to be wired for sound, much longer than it took to do the scene. The street is full with trucks and people and all over the place. Actually, I got lost around the house. I try to hide because there's so many people here, you know where you are. When they were shooting this scene, they had 2 of Tony's cars here, both Escalades, the white one and the black one that were used during the season. One of the scenes they shot here, he used a big crane. It was high up in the air, and they shot down the house, looked over the whole geographical area, got all these people doing their thing.
Besides my house, a lot of Johnny Sack's scenes took place in Little Italy. A lot always goes on in between takes, on and around Mulberry Street. Sax Maserati even showed up there a couple of episodes later, in another scene with Tony. There was always a lot of fun when the Sopranos were filming in Little Italy. Here, Vince Curatola does a Groucho Marx walk as he sneaks up on Gandolfini. There were lots of scenes featuring the New York guys like Phil Leotardo and Carmine Sr. at the Social Club and on and around Mulberry Street.
On The Sopranos, my shots are usually shot in New York. And, but this is where the real stuff is, on Mulberry Street. This is where all the real guys are. And that's where I like to work. The character I play, Carmine Lupatazzi, New York crime boss, has a club on Mulberry Street. It's actually an old-time saloon. It's got to be at least 100 years old, but it's an ideal location for what they need.
When we shot in Little Italy on Mulberry Street, it was at Maricchiata, which is one of the oldest bars in New York.
Where we would have in this restaurant, see, the confusing thing is the restaurant, but it was, when you came in, it was a bar, and there was a second room, and we would have the sit-downs in there. Because it wasn't set up like a restaurant. It was just a bar. I thought it was a social club.
I believe it might have been a social club years back, but now it seems like it's more of a tourist attraction. What you see is what you saw on The Sopranos. It's exactly the way it is. No set designing, nothing of that kind.
That bar actually doesn't get changed very much when we shoot in there. If you go in any given night, it'll look almost exactly like the set. You would see the wall separating the two rooms. If you're sitting in the back room, you would see that one wall with all the coat hangers all in a row. That's exactly how it is when we shoot in there, and that doesn't change when we're done. And you have all the old pictures on the wall and the big wood bar in the front room. And that's not something that the film company puts in there. That is exactly how the location is. The only thing that they do in the bar to make it easier to shoot is cover the mirrors behind the bar, because otherwise you'd never be able to hide all your film equipment and the lighting. Everything else is just about the same. So you could have your own sit down in the back room, and it's exactly like being on The Sopranos.
During the breaks of the shooting, we would all go outside and hang out, because it was very hot in that room, so we had to go out and get some fresh air. And when you see all the actors hanging out outside, you think it's the real deal that was going on. I'd be walking in the street, I'd walk into a coffee shop, they think I'm the real mob guy. They open up all the doors for me, they give me whatever I want, anything I want, because they're afraid that I may do something I do. But it's not the case, that's not true. I'm just playing a role, that's all it is.
We did a big scene at the old Homestead Steakhouse in New York City. Another example of using the city a lot in season 5. And Tony Soprano takes Meadow, her boyfriend Finn, and AJ out to dinner. And we shot that at the old Homestead, which is a famous steakhouse. And I think it was a Friday night or a Thursday night, a night when everybody else in the world was going out and we were shooting. And it was probably 11, 12 at night when we did the shot outside. So everybody's streaming by from all the clubs and all the restaurants in that area. Even Mario Batali stopped by the set, and I think he owns restaurants in the meatpacking district. So he stops by, and everybody's on their way, going out for drinks and having a good time. And yeah, it's a very busy intersection. At one point, one of many buses that night pulls up. It's got this picture of Joey Pants for the handler. You know, Joey Pants played Ralph Cifaretto. And there he is on the side of the bus advertising The Handler's new show. So Gandolfini goes, "Who's got a Sharpie? Who's got a Sharpie?" Of course, it's a film set, everybody's got Sharpies. So he grabs one from somebody, runs over to the bus, he starts drawing on Ralphie's face. And everybody on the sidewalk is seeing this and like stopping and cheering him on and encouraging him. Well, that was one way for Tony to get even with Ralphie, but I mean, chopping his head off was another way too. It's better to draw on his face than to chop his head off.
We're here at the Wayne Motor Inn on Route 23 in Wayne, New Jersey. In the show, it's the Flyaway Motel, you know, the site of the Executive Game, the most exclusive mob-run poker game in New Jersey. Tony's dad and Uncle Junior started it. And by episode 19, Davey Scatino, played by Robert Patrick, enters the scene. And this guy grew up with Tony, and he owns a huge sporting goods store. Scatino begs Tony to let him play even though the stakes are too high. Davey has a big-time gambling problem. And that'll take us to our next Sopranos location. We're off Route 17 North in Paramus, New Jersey, and this is the Ramsey Outdoor Store. As you can see, that this is a real operating store, and the thing is, they didn't change the name of it for the show.
Okay, episode 23, Bust Out, is when I worked at the Ramsey Outdoor Sporting Good on Route 17 in Paramus. It's when Tony Soprano got the word that they were investigating that kid's murder. And I was sitting there drinking with him, and you know, I knew shit was going down, and my character did, and he said, "What did you hear?" And I said, "Nothing." And we shot that in the sporting good place. And I remember that I was hiding from the press because we were into the second season, and during the whole second season, the whole philosophy was not to let the press know that my character was working, because at the end of the first season, I disappeared.
Hey, welcome to Ramsey Outdoor Store.
Yeah, I heard a lot about the store from the guys in the show.
Hey, what's going on? Let me introduce you to the store.
John, nice to meet you. Glad to see you doing well.
Yeah, we're still here despite Tony's attempts to close us down.
Yeah,
We're
because
still
I
doing
know,
well.
I know, because in the show, the only way that Tony can get his money back from Davey is by taking the store over and selling things like airline tickets and eventually bankrupting the place. Did that cause you any problems?
Yeah, well, I tell you, after that last episode that we were in aired, we were quite surprised at just how many people thought we were actually going out of business. And we did get a few calls asking when the going out of business sale is going to start, and did it already start? And we noticed the walls were empty, you guys going out, and we actually did advertise and let people know that we were still here. And you know, a lot of, so we got over that.
Yeah.
But there were quite a few people who thought literally that, this was the end of Ramsey Outdoor.
I did hear that the guy had some repercussions because people really thought his place was going out of business, and they stopped going by the store. So, hey, you wanted to be in show business, that's the price you pay. What are you going to do?
Let's go a little further south on Route 17 to Lodi, New Jersey to visit the Satin Dolls Gentlemen Club. Of course, fans of The Sopranos will also know it as the Bada Bing. They don't really dance topless. New Jersey law doesn't allow any nudity where alcohol is served, but the producers, they bend the law so we guys can, check out those beautiful bazookas. Fans always ask, where did the name Bada Bing come from? One explanation comes from the '72 film The Godfather. The young Michael Corleone decides he must kill a corrupt police captain, but his brother Sonny warns him. He goes, "Hey, what do you think, this is the army where you shoot him a mile away? You get up close and like this, and bada bing, blow that brains all over your nice Ivy League suit." But some people don't agree that the words bada bing originated in The Godfather.
That's bullshit. Bada bing, bada bang is mine. I'm the one that created Bada Bing in the Italian Wedding. I sold over 1 million albums. So at least we know there's a couple of million people out there know that Bada Bing, Bada Bang is mine. So all these geniuses that ad-lib something, Jimmy Conn can't ad-lib a fart. Now, the Bada Bing Club in Lodi, New Jersey is really the Satin Dolls. I like the name Satin Dolls better because Satin Dolls, to me, that's where gangsters would hang out. They wouldn't hang out with the Bada Bing because they can't say it. They'd be spitting all over the fucking bar. Satin Dolls is where the girls are, they're nice, but you know something? These geniuses, let's call the club the Bada Bing.
My first day on The Sopranos, the location was the Bada Bing. So I go home after this day, and I go home to my girlfriend, and I'm like, she's like, well, how'd it go? I'm like, I don't know, this show is really weird. I'm like, all these mom guys and the highway and the topless girls, and this is some wacky show.
You see, in the program, the Bada Bing is owned by Silvio Dante, played by Stevie Van Zandt, and of course is a favorite gathering place and front for the Soprano crew. Let's go in.
Hi, welcome to Satin Dolls, also known as the Bada Bing.
Let's check it out. Well, here it is. It's Satin Dolls, known in The Sopranos as Bada Bing. Hey, here's Nick, the manager.
Hey, John, how are you?
How
Good
you
to
doing,
see
buddy?
you.
What's going on?
How's everything?
Good, how are you?
Good. Welcome to Satin Dolls, the Bada Bing Club.
The most famous dance floor and bar area in the world. Let's check out the rest of it. Hey, why don't we take a look upstairs? So, Nick, this is where many of the, shall we say, mob-related meetings took place on the show, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Have a seat. This is where they discussed all the beatings and some of the hits they probably performed.
Wax, everyday events.
Family business. And you know, right over here, the stage, this is where the backdrop was, where you saw all the nice-looking gourmets over here, so to speak.
The Bada Bing Club is another offering to the actor of authenticity, their private club, their sanctuary, their Roman centurion, posture being filled. You have it all, like the dancing girls, the booze, the cigars, and it all equates to power.
So, John, this area of the bar must look real familiar to you.
It does look vaguely familiar, I must say.
This is where a lot of the scenes were shot, right here at the bar. As you can see, Route 17 out through the front door, and the stage where all the lovely dancers were filmed right over here. And believe it or not, everybody who comes into the club wants to sit right where you're sitting.
Oh, do they really? Yeah.
And the reason being is because this is actually where all the real good fellows hang out, right here at the bar.
So this is also where my friend Frank Santarelli, who plays Georgie, gets smashed in the head with the phone?
Yeah,
This area, right here?
Right over here. This is where he took a little bit of a whack. Yeah, this is where it took place, right over here.
That's right, guys. In the second episode of The Sopranos, as everybody remembers, I get hit with the phone. Bada bing. Hello? Bada bing, hello? I never work these phones. Hello? Hello, bada bing. Yeah, no, there's no Georgie here. It's Frank Santarelli. Yeah, I play Georgie. People want to know why I don't hit him back? Because it's not real. It's television. If I hit him back, it's, you understand? You don't hit a made guy. I've been in 12 episodes, and in 10 of those episodes, I get beat up. And I'm very excited about it. Very happy about it. I'm the original hitman. I get hit with everything. Right over the top of the head, broke it right in half. Right in half. One made of balsa wood that shattered into a million pieces. After every take, Tony came over and said, "How's your neck? You all right? God bless." This is where the guys come in, they move on down here, sit, and then they go on to the back, right?
Yeah, right over here in the famous pool room area. So here we are, John. This is our pool table.
Well, of course, the scenes we shot in the back room by the pool table were really done at Silver Cup Studios in Queens. Now, besides the fans, I know that many of the actors on the show consider this one of their favorite locations.
Right. The back room is really at the studio, but in that world, the back room of the Bada Bing was in the back where the pool table was. You know, they would hire some real strippers to do some scenes that came right from the club, or they would hire actresses who didn't mind disrobing to do some scenes. And, you know, they never asked me to disrobe them. I guess I don't have the goods.
Some of the most controversial scenes have been shot right in the back of the club, and my pal Danny Grimaldi, who plays Patsy Parisi, is out back to tell us about it right now.
This is the area where Ralphie killed a young stripper, and he beat her to death right in this location here. Right over there is the fence where Tony hit Ralphie, and this is the back of the Bada Bing.
I was in the scene that night myself with Ralphie, Tony, and all the other guys. Let me tell you, that was a long, rough shoot.
This is specifically the episode where Tracy, the stripper, gets killed out back by Ralphie. Probably one of the most brutal television episodes ever. Once she was killed, she was laying there, and we all file out in the back. And we see her laying there, and Dan Grimaldi, who plays Patsy Parisi, shoves me and says, "Get a carpet so we can roll up the body and hide it." The dummy that they used was an exact replica. And it was kind of unsettling because it looked just like Ariel, the actress. And it was laying there in the ditch.
My part in the scene was I come running out and I asked Georgie if he had a piece of carpet or a rug to dispose of the body. Now that's what I call service.
Well, I think one of the most memorable episodes was the Ralphie incident where he beat up the girl out back. I call it the Tracy episode. And when Ralphie and Tony were in the back getting ready to really go at it, myself and one or two other employees ran upstairs. We were all up on the roof. Suddenly, the producer's like, "Hey, you guys, you gotta get out of there." I don't know if we were making any kind of noise or making any eye contact with any of the actors, but that was quite interesting because it was take after take after take. Up on top of the roof, we got a good picture of everything that was going on, where most people down at the bottom couldn't see anything.
These tattoos take 5 hours to put on. 2 people, 1 on each arm. And I'm not allowed to move, I'm not allowed to talk to anybody, and they put me in a room so I'm away from everybody else getting their makeup, because it's a very painstaking process. They start out with a silhouette, and then they wet it with alcohol, peel it off, and then they draw it in. In the very first episode I'm in, Gandolfini has to leave the set 3 times because of me. The first time, the tattoos are fresh. He doesn't know. He comes up behind me, gives me a big bear hug, picks me up. He's got the ink all over him. He has to leave. Now it looks like it's my fault. The director comes over to me and goes, "What'd you do?" I said, "Nothing." He came and grabbed me, hugged me, so he's out of here. The next time, he's got his head down on the bar like this. He's resting. It's 100 degrees in here. I pick up a bottle of anisette. I pour a shot of anisette. He looks up. He goes like this. Boom, he does a shot. He goes, He has to leave the set because he's choking from the booze. I don't know if he thought it was water or what. The third time is he's back, he's sitting down, kind of tired. I walk over and I go, let me ask you a question. He goes, what's that? I go, did you or did you not fuck my wife? Which is a line from Raging Bull. He's laughing his ass, he's choking, he's laughing so hard he has to leave. The director comes over to me and goes, stay away from James. Just stay away from him. Hanging out with James Gandolfini, it's incredible. But yeah, if we're outside, people are screaming and waving constantly. In the middle of one shoot, it was very hot. And he's going back and forth, and he's messing up every take. He's tired. We've been working all day long, and I don't really know what's going through his mind. And he's caged. He's like a caged animal. At the same time, he's resting. You know, he can't sit. That's his method acting. He chirps. He goes, he makes these really crazy noises. He chirps like a chicken, and he was a fighter. So he'll go, yeah, it's hysterical to watch. But that's his method of getting into it. You know, and he's a big guy, you know.
Jim Gandolfini is playing a very intense character, and sometimes you would see him getting ready to play that intensity various ways. Some of them were ways that some cars were hurt. He hit an Escalade, so he left this big dent, and he was a big guy. His hands were like baseball mitts. And I have a fairly good grip, but when I would shake his hand, my hand would just get lost in this enormous bear paw. And when he was doing that sort of intense preparation, it could look scary. But he could be very gentle too. I mean, there were plenty of co-stars, female co-stars, who thought the world of Jim. Yeah, we have a lot of guest stars on Sopranos, and we even had a porno star come in, Gina Lynn, which I wasn't aware of that she was a porno star. I'm not knowledgeable about that stuff at all, but I've been told.
In another great scene at the Bada Bing, Chris is out for revenge against Tony. This is because of rumors that prior to an accident in Tony's truck, Adriana had given Tony a blowjob while he was driving his black Escalade. Later, these accusations were proven to be unfounded.
There's a scene in episode 5 of the 5th season where Christopher is drunk out of his mind and he pulls up outside the Bada Bing and shoots up Tony's car, Tony's red Suburban. And they did a lot of run-throughs with the stunt guy just to plan that sequence out very well, because you want to do as few takes as possible when you're setting up special effects. And you know, they set these charges on the car and they blow out the tires and the windows. You don't want to have to keep resetting too many times. So they run through it so that when they finally shoot the scene, they don't have to repeat it. It takes a long time to reset those special effects. Everything has to be rewired and the windows have to be put back in. So it's a long time to redo those effects. So if you can get it good on the first take, that's golden. You know, even if you have to do another take, you just don't want to have to keep doing it over and over again. So there's a lot of planning for that.
A drunken Christopher with a gun in one hand and a bottle in the other pulled into the Bada Bing parking lot and proceeded to shoot up Tony's old Suburban truck. The truck was rigged to have the windows and tires shot out to coincide with Michael Imperioli's actions. Have a look. After shooting up Tony's truck, Christopher went inside the Bada Bing looking for Tony and was apprehended by the guys inside.
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy scene, because usually the stuff in the Bada Bing is more private. The guys discuss things amongst themselves, or they're up in the upper VIP area or something like that. So it was odd to see an action sequence like that. Christopher shouting in a crowded bar. All the guys come running down the stairs. Silvio Dante's on a bullhorn telling everybody, just, you know, calm down, everybody go back to what you're doing. The girl's up on the stage. It was pretty wild.
I shot at the Bada Bing one episode called Members Only with Joe Ganascoli and Jimmy Gandolfini. We shot in the back. We made some business deals. But I didn't shoot that much at Bada Bing because I was more or less a New York guy. And that was a Jersey spot. So New York guys really didn't go to Jersey. Jersey was like a farm team, you know.
One of the jobs that Tony Blundetto gets in an attempt to go straight after prison is working at Kim's Laundry. And one of their clients is actually the Bada Bing. So we literally see Tony B handling Tony Soprano's dirty laundry.
Here we are at the Bada Bing.
Gandolfini passing out donut.
Gandolfini passing out donuts. James Gandolfini passing out donuts to David Chase. That's James Gandolfini in the hoodie. As you can see, they're both eating. Wow. Here at the Bada Bing, James Gandolfini comes in and surprises everybody in the last set at the club, bringing donuts, handing it out to everybody.
Things were not that sweet outside on the Bada Bing parking lot. You're looking at rare behind-the-scenes footage of the last major filming at Zandt Dolls. The Sopranos crew is getting ready and setting up for the first part of the big shootout in the Blue Comet, and next to the last episode. Just as Silvio Dante and Patsy Parisi, seated in the light gray caddy seen here, were about to drive out of the Bing parking lot, a Lincoln Town car carrying Phil Leotardo's henchmen pulled in off the highway and cut them off. Phil's guys were played by Rick Aiello and Peter Boccosi. Pete had been the stunt coordinator since the show began. Rick is the son of famed actor Danny Aiello. Meanwhile, Silvio Dante and Patsy Parisi, in their haste to avoid the oncoming car, had run into a parked motorcycle. Here, the henchmen opened fire on Silvio and Patsy. As they exchange fire, Patsy exits the car and makes a run for it. Rick Aiello's character is out of bullets and they decide to leave. Silvio is shot up and badly wounded, and he and the car are riddled with bullets. The would-be assassins peel out of the parking lot and onto the highway and end up colliding with a yellow motorcycle. The bike goes sliding down the road, separated from its driver. That red car you see down the road ends up running over the driver as patrons of the club look on in horror. And that's the end of the sequence. Of course, a dummy was used in multiple scenes of the crash. Here, we see the stunt driver used for the scene. Here is Danny Grimaldi in bloody makeup. Steve Van Zandt gets some finishing touches for his upcoming scene. Silvio is doubled by stuntman Paul Boccosi in the shooting scenes. Here he is standing next to Nick, the manager, dressed to resemble Silvio prior to shooting the scene. It took almost 2 days of shooting to get less than 2 minutes of action on screen. The first day of filming was spent on the big shootout. Then on another day, the highway accident took up a whole Sunday morning and afternoon, tying up traffic for miles and miles.
To come in and close down Route 17 is something you might hear about for a big movie being shot in New Jersey. But for a television show, this was a major event. And they had to let some traffic through. I think they had one lane of traffic that they would let go periodically, because you can't shut it down for real. It is a major throughway. But one of the things they do is you have stunt drivers and extras in the cars blocking those lanes. So as the traffic is happening, the cars you're seeing go by are all driven by people who are hired for the day. Some of them are stunt drivers, and then after that, you have extras who get paid to bring their cars and things like that. One of the big sequences that you definitely had to shut down the entire highway was the stunt with the motorcycle. That's a big stunt, and you definitely have to have complete control of the highway for that. And then you get into the funny, fake movie stuff where the bike is crashed, but to continue the sequence, they had attached the motorcycle to a cable and pulled it down Route 17 to make it look like the motorcycle continued to just slide down the highway. And that's movie magic right there. I believe they speed up that shot so that it looks like the motorcycle is going even faster, because I think they pulled it at like 10 or 15 miles an hour. But one of the biggest sequences in the course of the big shootout, the entire car gets shot up, and the special effects guys rig the car with little charges to make all this happen. So the windows have charges in them to shatter. Each bullet hole on the car is something that a guy is pressing a button, making a charge go off and making that happen. I think technology now has advanced where they do some of that with the computer, but this was live performance. You can almost call it performance arts. For the audience to see a major character that you've come to love, Silvio in the car, shot up like that, is a huge turn of events, and it's very emotional. And he takes a bunch of hits in the chest, and we don't know that he's not dead. We only find out later that he's been wounded very badly and probably, they say, won't ever wake up. Silvio's in the hospital, and the idea being that he did survive the shootout at the Bada Bing, but that his injuries were extensive. So we don't actually kill his character off, but that last day of shooting with Steve was very emotional for everybody because, Steve was there from day one, and that was a big day for everybody, and everyone hugging and some people crying, of course. Steve Van Zandt's goodbye was one of those days where you really start to feel like this is really the end. This is the final season.
Sopranos Behind the Scenes continues on the next disc.
There was once a big pussy who roamed through New Jersey. He ratted on Tony, and now he sleeps with the fishes.